Thank you everyone for joining us. This is part of the elevatED workshop series at New York City College of Technology. And for the agenda for today, we have so honored to have um, Pegah Khosravi and David Smith as faculty members here at City Tech. Pegah will be presenting AI as a classroom ally, lessons learned from 3 years of teaching technology. And then after Pega, we have a second presentation. We'll jam-pack another right after. Generative AI as a teacher assistant. And Dr. David Smith and myself will co-lead conversation from there on. So I will stop sharing and hand it over to Pega.
Wait one sec. I'm sorry. Can we?
Oh, yeah,
I
go
need.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Oh, yes, I forgot to mention. Go
That's
ahead.
what I need. Okay. Yeah. So hi. So we're going to do a little bit of exploration and playing with one of the LLMs that we've been working with, and in the interest of just this sort of speculative fun, I would love if each of you could provide me with a part of one of your lessons of your classes that you find interesting. It could be an assignment. It could be a, mo a module, something that's relatively short but encompasses a an area that you want to teach. And if you could be so kind, particularly, oh, you had built a card that showed what um,
Yes.
types of files are. I would prefer a PDF, but if you give it to me in any way, I can do it. And if you just upload the PDF or whatever into chat, into Zoom chat while this is going on, so you have plenty of time. I'll start collating these and then we'll do the exercise. I don't want to give too much away right now, but I'm very interested if you can give me an assignment, a test, a module, a topic, a lesson plan, just one from each of you. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David, for reminding me. So basically, this activity, like David said, you can upload a document, and here are the screenshot, the card that David's mentioning, either a Google Docs, it could be slides, a link to a website, a link to a YouTube video, something from your course. It could be a PDF, a TXT file, and if you can add it to the chat while Pega's presenting, Dave in the background will be taking those files and feeding it into our notebook LM for our next activity. So I'll stop sharing one more time and hand it over to Pega. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Can you see my screen in full screen
Yes.
format? Okay, let me to introduce myself. My name is Pegah Khosravi. I'm a kind of new faculty. This is my third year, and I'm assistant professor of biomedical AI. So let's talk about my background. So my background, my PhD is in bioinformatics, and after that, I had 3 years postdoc in machine learning, and after that, 3 years postdoc in deep learning and artificial intelligence. And then after that, 3 years AI scientist at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. By the way, my second postdoc was in Weill Cornell Medical College. So you see that my background is most like industry or research. And then when I was hired by City Tech in 2022, it was kind of like a shock in two ways because I should teach, and teaching is I had experience but not too much. So thanks to my colleagues surrounded me by too many experience that they teach me how to manage a class and teach, as well as the other shock was it was the time 3 years ago that ChatGPT showed up. So here I am to share my experience for these 3 years, how I handle my classes while I was exposed with the technology, the new technology. So the thing is that AI is not a new thing. So I'm talking about starting my second postdoc in AI, 2017. But AI is a big area. So looking at this paragraph, I put it here, which is interpretation of this graph I show. AI is very major concept, the subcategory of the machine learning, subcategory of that artificial neural network, subcategory of deep learning. So basically, in 2017, I was working with deep learning to analyze these images, medical images. But what make people stress out, especially faculty during teaching, is a subcategory of deep learning or artificial neural network called generative AI, which is based on the natural language processing, and specifically large language model. You see that, and these are also not new, but in 2022, it was everybody have access to that because of the OpenAI. So here I just explained it again. What is generative AI? It's referred to a subcategory of artificial intelligence that can create new content. It could be text, images, even code. And one of the most famous example of that is OpenAI, and specifically for images is DALL-E, and for code as well as other text generating other things. There are many apps in OpenAI that people can use it. These are just example of that. But what we expect in education is beyond this. So for me, in a biology department, I expect that combination of AI with augmented reality. So my students sit down and then when I talk, for example, my colleagues talk about something like about gene or the physiology, they can actually put this glass on their head, the augmented reality, and then see them instead of just imagining them. That's the things that there is, this technology is available, but not very expanded. So this was for teaching, but for assessment also, you see that AI is here. I mean, we transfer from, I forgot, Blackboard to Brightspace. So now we know that many of the things that doing, and we're working with Brightspace is with the help of AI. It's the backbone is AI. For example, this is one of my courses that I'm teaching this semester. You see that for some of this question, I designed it for midterm, and I can see the statistic of the result of students. So, for example, I look at the question number 22, why most of us student didn't able to answer this question, and I look at that and I find that, okay, I'm teaching, by the way, programming this semester. I'm teaching many courses, but this semester particularly I'm focused on programming with Python. Then I found that, oh, my students have problem with function. So next semester it helped me, so next session it helped me to focus more on function, because now I know that students have problem with that. So it's kind of the things that is not always harmful, but it's also bringing some good things to the class. Help me. That was about administration things and stuff, but we also have this new technology in research. I have my own lab, BioMind AI lab, and my research focus on analysis of medical images. By the way, I would appreciate it if someone, a microphone is open, and so they can just turn it off, so we have a quiet place to talk. So in this BioMind AI lab, if you click on that, you see that students involved in my own research collaborating with different hospitals to analyze data, medical data, so they expose with the real world problem. But how they can do is, again, because of the AI and the help that they receive it from this technology. So here we are. We are in AI Task Force. I'm a very new person for this, less experienced, let's say it. But these are our tasks to do that. Everybody here to share their own experiences, so we can reduce the concern about this new technology. And instead of just being worried about that, and learn how to involve this technology in our experience. For many aspects, from teaching to the research to administration, how we can deal with this new technology. So for bringing some here in this actually session, I brought some example, but I wanted to first of all tell you how many courses I teach during these 3 years. I started from biomedical data analytics second, which is actually deep learning and artificial intelligence data analysis. But then I move on to the more junior courses like data analysis 1, which is more machine learning. And then this semester I'm teaching programming, which is Python and Unix. But in the meantime, I also teach some of the course like biomedical informatics curriculum, which is a writing. The students experience different. We invite different people from different institutes who comes and from different background and explain their expertise and share their most new paper, and then we ask the student to sit down and write the summary of that. So you see that I have, it's not just analysis, I also have some writing experience. So how, and then how I manage my classes. Before that, I wanted to show you my research interests and the way that I involve my student on that as well. We even, with help of AI, we even publish a paper. It's still in medical, but by help of undergrad student, before AI show up, we just rely on the graduate school and then the students on that to make sure that our research is updated as well. Our Google Scholar is still trending up, but now we can involve them. But how? Because I have my TA in my class, because I have AI in my class to help a student. So what is the technique I use? First of all, this is a very humble sharing of experience. I just have 3 years experience. I'm pretty sure you can teach me a lot. But as a person that I am not too resisting against the AI, but trying to update it and then my course to that, because I didn't have too much experience. So it was everything's new for me. So it was easier to adopt it, everything. I'm just sharing my own experience. It could be wrong or it could be right. Let me know after that. First of all, the first thing is that students are not stupid. When they are in class, you can find how you can communicate with them. If you see that they are cheating, it's so easy to just talk to them. See, I'm coming from MSK and Walker now. When they want to interview me, they ask me to sit down in front of them and ask me questions. At that time, we didn't have AI. Imagine that you wanted to, next year, 2 years, 3 years, you go to the same places and you want to have an AI, you want to have this interview. If you just rely on AI in this class during this, what do you learn? How you can find a job in the real market. So if you share with your own experience with them, believe or not, but they accept it easier. I've never asked my student to close AI, not to use it. Don't do this, don't do that. I just talk to them and I say, if you wanted to find a job after this, this is not the way. Cheating is not the best way, because you will be caught in an interview with nothing that you learn. And you're just paying for your course. You're spending your time here. That's the things I always talk to my student one by one in class. By the way, all my classes are hybrid, mostly in person, because I believe in communication in person. It's not just because of my student, also because of myself. The other things I did, I changed the grading policy to more adapted to this technology. For example, now we have in-class participation. I found that we cannot deduct grade from students because they don't come. But here in class participation, it doesn't mean that they show up. It means that they show up, sit down, code, and talk to me. And when I ask to them that what's the problem with this, they can show me in the monitor. So it's real class participation, which you see that 20% grade of this allocated to them. So come to the class, sit down and talk to me and tell me what this line of the code tell you. The other thing is final projects. I will bring I brought them example I show you. But why final project for me is important. I like it, 10% of that, because it shows them that whatever they learn from the early first session to the last session, they should be able to integrate all of them to real projects. If they wanted to find a job after graduation. It means that when, for example, learn how to code, how to interpret a result, they should be able to write about it and talk about it and present it themselves. So it's a kind of like a technique for that usually in market they needed to present themselves, or when they wanted to participate in the graduate school and interview and all the things. So that's 30% of the grade is allocated to things that even if they use AI, they should talk to me so they can be evaluated fairly. But the other things is quiz, exam 1 and exam 2, which is basically I usually give them 2 quiz, 1 midterm and final exam. I talk about this later, how I manage it in my class. But why I so appreciated AI and I say AI is my TA. For example, this semester I'm teaching programming, right? This part of the code, I just intentionally put it in this way. There is an error in this code that show that here in this line, I intentionally remove S from numbers, from number here and show that number because I want to make sure that, and this is by the way that I'm teaching my students, I want to make sure that the student, if they see something like this in code, how they can read the error and how to fix the error, because I want to make sure their mind is not lazy if they use AI, for example, to find error. So whatever is happening here, when they run it in Colab, it's the environment that I share with them to run the code. First of all, Colab showed them the line, right? And it's not a new, it just comes years ago. So, and the second thing is I asked them, believe me, a student jump in and say, professor, why it's not working? Why it's not working? So they're so lazy that they don't sit down and look at the error and write it. It's not just laziness. Sorry if I just mentioned it in this term because my language is not that much west to find the suitable word, but I mean that they're a new generation. They just want to find the answer and solve the problem without thinking. And then this has come with the technology. And I just go one by one in a class that they have more than 20 students, say, okay, read this. What is it? Name error. Name number is not defined. What you have here, look at this. What line is error? Okay, just imagine that I still cannot figure it out, cannot find it. I asked them, okay, can you see that here? This bottom that says explain error, click on that. And then recently, this is just happened this year. Recently, Gemini, which is an AI tool, is on Colab. So this is very good and I welcome this technology because when you click on that, although it shows how you write this correct way of that, also explaining. So as a student, okay, read this. What is this hypothesis? What is the suggestion changes? So even if they use this, still they learn something. And believe me, what I saw after a while, because it's very long, students stop, click on this explainer and learn how to read this because it's shorter. So this is the way, then okay, we should add some one S here, and then when we run this in Colab, it runs. So they're happy, yay. But this is the way that I first started with teaching them how to use AI correctly. And also what I'm doing, helping myself. So less raise hand. I can see each session because now they learn how to fix the error by themselves. So that was about the AI as my TA, but these are some of the examples that how I manage my classes during the exam. First of all, I give them instruction. I tell them it's open book. You can use whatever you want, but not, for example, ChatGPT. Why? Because ChatGPT is quickly learn a lot of things that now they can just copy and paste the images, everything, and get the result. The one that is advanced, the one that you should pay for that. So I just make it clear. Everything you can use, even Gemini, but not ChatGPT. And we are in class, by the way, so it's easier. So I can see their monitor. The other things I'm doing, I give them, for example, 50 questions, but 50 minutes. There is no way that they can find time to do this, because if you look at my question, they have many, many parts. First of all, I have like, for example, give them 4 response, so they should read the response. And then also I give them instruction for code, so they should open Colab if they want to type, or even if they want to copy and paste, they should figure it out. So it takes time. 1 minute per question is very limited. And it just help, and then it needs too much practice to just grasp what I asked them to do. So that's one thing. So the other thing is that I put a lot of question, and each question there are many instruction for that. Like you find the, for example, this here, this is a compressed file, open it, then open, like for example, in your terminal, and do this, do that. So they should, it's very limited time, so it needs a lot of preparation. So, and it's better to be prepared for that. So that's the kind of also change the question and the way I ask the question. And finally, that's the group projects. Although this is, I asked them to present it in the week 14, one before final, they need to start working together from the first session, find their teammate, find the data, and every time it's aligned with the way that I'm teaching. One session I teach them how to download the data. One session I teach them how to bring the libraries, call the libraries, do the analysis, how to visualize. So every session they start to adding something to their projects. And then finally, one session before the final, they should present it in both Colab as a code as well as a slide deck and present. So not just only learn how to handle the whole project, but also learn how to collaborate with their teammate, the things that we needed in the society. So again, thank you so much for your time. And I hope that you find this presentation humble, not just, I didn't want to present something that as a new faculty, just, I don't dare to do this. So, but I'm pretty sure my colleagues, David and Jose, have more to share with you, but I will be more than happy to answer any question that you have. Thank you.
We have a few more minutes for questions. If anybody wants to take on the mic, open the mic and ask Pega some questions before we move on to the second part of our presentation.
I just want to say that Pega, your presentation was excellent, very
Thank you, Isaac.
educational, and I 100% agree that we should embrace AI in our curriculum and actually introduce it in our curriculum. Instead of like pushing back and not allowing students to use it. But we have to point out, use it in the correct content and correctly. And what I learned, I use it extensively in my courses. One of the things that I learned that AI sometimes scientifically provides inaccuracies.
Exactly.
There are inaccurate responses. So I purposefully select those responses and I tell my students, listen, if you don't know the content, you're going to submit this with the wrong answer. So
Yes.
if you know the content, please go ahead, use ChatGPT or any other AI that's available. So that's way, if you know the content, you could pinpoint the mistakes. But thank you for
Very smart. Thank you so much for the feedback. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, also tell them to cross-reference everything.
Exactly.
This
That's
way,
smart.
because I usually tell them that a lot of times the computer does not know what you mean. So it spits out an answer that could be totally off the wall. So you gotta
Actually, the computer never knows what you mean. It's applying syntactical rules to sentence structures, and that's, I think, something that jumps over the top. That knowing
exactly. And this way, if they cross-reference, at least they'll go to other sources and just make sure that that answer is what the answer they need.
Very good point.
I also want to jump in on Pega's strategies, especially with the low stakes and high stakes assignments that she presented. And you brought me back to a professor of mine who used the same tactic that Pega used, uh, timing, right? The duration of the assignment. And I remember it was a midterm or final, and I remember having only enough time, because it was an online course, and so I could have gone in Google search and done everything, but in the meantime, I'm losing the time to complete the whole test. I remember
Exactly.
the struggle of trying to answer as many questions as possible while also trying to find an answers I didn't know. So thank you for sharing that, Pega.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a good point about that because you have when you structure the exams, you have to make sure you give them just the right amount of time so they don't have the time to go and start Googling everything.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
to add to that too, Pega, thank you for sharing also in Brightspace that you can actually go in and see the statistics, how much time it took students to complete a certain question, and therefore you can, if you deploy that exam once before, you can always go back into the statistics and look at the time duration and
Yeah.
analytics to find out, am I giving the students enough time to complete the
Exactly.
exam without the extra unnecessary activities that might be happening in the side.
Good idea. Thank you.
Correct. Yes.
Especially
Yeah.
those
Very
who need additional time, those with
right.
learning disability that need an extra half an hour to 1 hour.
Thank you so much for brightening this up. It's very important thing. So actually for this, they are not open, at least there is no way I understand. But what I learned when I know my student, I find that some of them, for example, one of my students starts shaking. So it seems that she's whatever, for whatever reason, she has a lot of stress. So what I did, I just went to her and sit down and said, you have more time comparing to other students. Don't scare. So you can start and you have 10, 15 minutes and whenever you finish it. So I know that she can finish it because she's very good student, but because of too much pressure for the time and being a new in this technique, so she's just stressed out. So it would be great if we encourage
Okay.
our students also show up and tell
Hi.
us hi, tell us what's the problem or give us some information, which some of them are open, but it's always good to look at directly to a student and find those pattern and the behavior and just make sure that you can handle the situation in a better way. Yes, I agree, Sandra, I agree. Yeah, thank you so much.
I think it was a great presentation. And having worked with some medical images and data like that, we recently presented ChatGPT, usage of ChatGPT for medical, how medical residents use it for answering questions. And we compared the results. We asked the same questions like that you ask on boards for the medical boards, different specialties, they have their different boards, like they have some certain database names and all that. So we used 550 questions from one database and fed it all to ChatGPT and asked the answers, compared the results that we got from ChatGPT to the real world data, like of thousands of residents and fellows taking these exams. And we found that ChatGPT naturally did better. But but then the next step, what we did was we asked some of the physicians who read this images, etc., asked them to evaluate the answers that were given by ChatGPT, and we had a scoring system and all that. And we found that according to the ChatGPT, some of the questions itself were incorrect or not correctly asked. So now using AI and not necessarily ChatGPT, some other programs, maybe we can improve the way the questions are asked.
Exactly.
So that's like a point. I learned something from that research that we conducted.
Good point. Yes.
Thank you for teaching our students. It's wonderful to know that they'll get
You're well welcome. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So thank you, Pega, and we're very lucky to have you here at City Tech. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to present to us and opening up your class to us. We're at 1:30, perfect timing. And so the next part is we're going to talk a little bit about a tool. And this was
Or I'm sorry, Jose, before we jump,
go ahead.
there are a bunch of us here. I've only received 3 assignments so far. I'm just hoping I can have a few more. I'm just asking for an assignment, a test, a topic, a module, a piece of your class, a piece of a class that you like or an interesting topic or something. We're just going to play with it. I mean, it's all anonymous amongst friends, but it would be great if I could get a few more than
Did you
3.
get my link? I sent in a link on the chat. I have a YouTube link.
I have the YouTube about polishing, yes?
This one is a wax up about an anterior.
Wax up, right. Yep, yep. Yep, I have that. I have Maria's, I have Sandra's, and
Sarah.
Sarah. Wait, I have Susan's, I have Maria's, I have the YouTube.
Oh, sorry,
Uh,
Susan.
I'll send mine in a bit.
Yeah, that's fine. I just need it before I start my thing because that's part of the that's why I'm asking for it early.
So for those who joined late, basically, Professor Smith is going to take some of your assignments, and we're going to have an activity, an interactive activity amongst all of us, and brainstorm together on how we can use this tool. And so my presentation, which it will be a little more about talking and introducing this new tool. And like everyone here, I was super excited when ChatGPT came out. That's all I can think about. That's all I was talking about. And I haven't been too excited ever since then. But with this new tool, I've been pretty much very excited when I saw this come out. So we're going to talk about Notebook LM, and we're going to continue talking. We're going to continue the conversation that Pega started. And for those of you who know Spanish, pega means glue, right? So we're going to glue this together, right? So in Spanish, pega is glue. So thank you, Pega, for going first. And
Thank you for translating this. My name is Persian. It means early morning, dawn.
Yeah, in the early morning. That's what we're talking about. That sounds like coffee to me.
So thank you, Peg, again for the wonderful presentation. And I will share my screen now. And this will be very quick. I just want to introduce the tool to everyone, and then I'll turn it over to Professor Smith, and we'll continue the talk and the activity. And here is a slide that I mentioned before. So basically, Notebook LM can take the following file types, such as PDFs, TXT files, audio, such as MP3 files, Google Doc, Google Slides, a URL or a link to a website, and just added recently, not too long ago, YouTube videos, which is amazing. And also, if you, for whatever reason, cannot ingest the file, you can always copy and paste the content onto Notebook LM. So,
I'm sorry. And if you can if you have other formats like Microsoft Word, I can take the Microsoft Word and quickly
convert it.
Yeah, I can quickly convert it.
All right.
Okay. So Lizette, thank you. Oh wait, there's the link to Notebook LM. Right. I see what you're doing.
So there's no excuses for submitting your assignment. That's what David is saying.
Anything, I'll take it.
Now we know now how we feel as professors, right? Students sometimes don't want to submit their homework. So real quick, actually, let me show the link and where can you access Notebook LM. So if you have a Google account, you should be able to access Notebook LM. And let me show you real quick. You can just go directly to notebooklm.google. And as long as you're logged in with your Google account, you can just click on the button, try Notebook LM, and it will take you inside. So just want to make sure that you're able and that you have access to the tool that we're going to talk about today. And so what is it? What is Notebook LM? So basically, it's a free web-based AI service that helps you draw insights and learn from notes, documents, links, and recordings. So what makes it different from ChatGPT and Gemini and those others and Copilot? The beauty of Notebook LM is the fact that you are building your knowledge base. And a lot of us, as we have been experimenting with ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini, and many others, we've noticed a big problem is hallucinations, right? When the language model doesn't have an answer, it tends to make up some stuff, funny or weird things. And this is the reason why I was super excited about Notebook LM, is the fact that uh, the content or the source is good quality, you're going to get good quality. If it's garbage in, then you're going to get garbage out. So it's basically you yourself, you have the control of the content that's being ingested. And by ingested, I mean is you're uploading the source. You are either providing a link, you're uploading a PDF, you're providing a link to a YouTube video. And that's what I mean, right? And so this brings a whole new level of possibilities in my mind as an educator. It doesn't conduct web research or fabricate information, right? Instead, it focuses solely on the analyzing the sources that you provide. So it's source grounding. So here are a few updates. I mean, and I forget who mentioned it earlier, but Pega did. Technology is moving so fast that when I was putting this presentation together, I had to come back and update some of my slides because now it can handle it can handle YouTube videos. So we're seeing how fast things are moving, and so. Notebook LM can be used by anyone over 200 countries. It supports the following formats, as I mentioned before: PDFs, links, copy pasted, material, audio files, YouTube links, Google Docs, and Google Slides. One thing I did find that I found troublesome, but I'm sure they're working on it, is that I figure that if I'm allowed to upload a Google slide or something that's evergreen, and by evergreen I mean that it's being hosted on either Google Drive or OneDrive, but you can always edit the file and the file is always up to date, right? Whereas a PDF file can be static. So I said, oh, this is wonderful, right? So if I just put Google Slides and link them to my Notebook LM, and every time I update those files, these files are always going to be updated. But I found out that once you ingest or once you upload a file, it's only doing it one time. So I hope that Google or people are listening to us, because then it'll be wonderful that every time I update a file, it will be updated in Notebook LM as well. So that's a drawback I will mention. This is amazing. It can handle up to 50 sources. I mean, that's insane, right? Because you can now create a notebook um, based on your entire course, all your course material. You can think about, hey, I'm going to put all my videos, all my assignments, all the materials in my course could be in one notebook. And from there, you can use it as a tool to then create new materials, assignments, discussion. I mean, whatever you want to create, because now you build your knowledge base off of these sources. And again, just make sure that the sources that you're putting into the system, the knowledge base, has to be good sources. It uses Gemini's best model. It actually citates. So the citations, right? So the citations are when you chat with your notebook, it will um, put the citations as to where which sources is it citing. So that's amazing too, because now you can, I'm asking, I'm gonna show a little demo later where I put a lot of my material, my course material into a notebook, and I start asking it questions, and then it will cite the source. So I know that this source is coming from my own material that I uploaded. The other thing which is interesting is this: not too long ago, well, a month ago, they added team collaboration. So another amazing feature, because now let's say I'm collaborating with my department and we're building a repository of assignments in a notebook LM. So I create a notebook. I can share that notebook with my fellow colleagues, and together we can feed our assignments into a notebook, and from there generate new assignments based on the sources that we provided. So that's amazing. So collaboration can also be done with your students. So if you create a notebook and you ask your students to create a notebook, and then you ask them to share their notebook with the professor, so you can see the history of the work that's been uh, created by the student. the giraffes, versioning. I mean, again, I'm gonna leave the brainstorming for last. I just want to get you a little excited. The other feature of Notebook LM is the ability for it to summarize the content or the sources that you provided into a podcast. And I don't know if some of you received our A2L newsletter about last month, but I did a sneak peek of, of a notebook, a podcast audio that was generated from some sources on the Ally tool. And so to many, it sounded like it was two normal people talking to each other. It didn't sound to me like, there was AI generated voices. So that's really exciting for students or faculty members who want to summarize a certain part of the course into multimodal forms, not just text. It could be audio as well. It could be video. So as we think about universal design learning, UDL, right? So we're trying to think of many new ways to present our content, not just everything has to be in text format. It can understand source material in over 100 languages. What else? Yeah, so you can upload up to 50 sources, 200 megabytes for each source, and with the Notebook LM, you can make up to 100 notebooks for now. I'm sure Google, as we've seen in the past history, they'll probably monetize the tool, but for now, it's completely free. These are just some of my ideas, so that when we move over to the next activity, we can brainstorm together. What can we do with this tool? Maybe build my own TA on a notebook, right? I could put all the sources that a TA would know about my course and build my own TA based on the source that I ingest into the model. You can generate course content, quizzes, discussion, etc. Synthesizing information has always been key, right? Because you can feed it tons and tons of information, and it will just summarize it for you into easy, like a 3-minute or 5-minute audio that students can listen into as they commute home or to the school, and they plug in their headphones as they're listening in to your podcast or summarization of your course. I also see this as project-based assessments. If you're into creating project-based, Pega mentioned that she has a project in her course. So can you imagine having a notebook? Students will work on a whole project on a notebook and put all their information in one place, and they can submit that to you. I mentioned some collaborative projects, create study guides, summarize lectures, listen on the go, interact with course materials. So students can actually chat with your notebook or their own notebook, or create their study guides directly from the notebook as they put in all the materials, all the notes that they've taken in the class. And so here's a real quick demo before I turn it over to Professor Smith. I just want to show you real quick how some of my notebooks that I have created. For example, here's one I'm playing around with. It's a student submissions. So either I can share this, collect some students' work and put it inside here. One other one that I'm playing around with is I took the Brightspace Basics course, and I began ingesting or inserting the knowledge into the notebook by clicking on the plus sign here. And then from here, then you can start the process of ingesting all that knowledge or the sources in here. So here I have 3 documents that I've entered into this notebook. And this is directly from my course. So it will take some time for you to complete the whole process of ingesting all that knowledge into the notebook. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty much expediting the work, because now I have all this information in my fingertips, so I can clearly ask some questions here. And so here's a test on how will this hallucinate. So this is based on the faculty, the Brightspace faculty course. So I can ask questions here. How do I create a quiz? And so you begin to chat with the notebook as you build the knowledge base, and it cites the source. Here is citing where they got the answer from, and this is directly from my source. And if you don't know, if you are stuck and you don't know what to ask, it always prompts you some examples. You know, what are three benefits of using the announcement tool? What are the three main purposes of the activity feed? So I like that it also gets you a jump start if you're stuck and you don't know what to ask. The last thing I'm going to show David before I hand it over is one other example. Here is where is it? Oh, here's one I did for my workshop. Now this blew me away because I this was pretty amazing because I have a Google Doc where I would use AI to help me generate some ideas for workshops. So it would provide me the titles and some ideas, and so I then took the source file. It was a Word document, and I ingest that document into my notebook. But at one point, I realized I'm looking at it. I was like, wait a second, I have all these amazing titles for these workshops, but I don't have an outline. And so what I asked, so now that I had all this information about all my workshops, I asked it, please create a quick outline for all my workshops that do not have an outline. So I had some workshops that had some outlines, and some were just me brainstorming and talking to faculty and asking them, what would be interesting? What would you like to hear about us? And then, so I said, okay, well, then I hit, and it went through the list of all my workshops, and I had about 10, and it gave me a quick outline for all of them. I was like, oh my gosh, I just saved myself. Again, you still have to go over, review, and take a look. And yeah, look, I mean, it went through and it just grabbed the titles of some of them, and then, hey, look, what about this? Maybe say this. And so that really helped me tremendously. But I want you to take these ideas and think about how this can help you. And Pega made the statement, how can AI become your TA? How can it assist you? How can it help you take we always talk about faculty fatigue, and we know it because right now we're heading towards faculty fatigue as we're going towards the end of the finish line, and most of us are like exhausted. I don't know what else I can do. But if we can take some of that load and assign those things to AI, and then we can then focus on more important things, like Pega was saying, when I know students are failing my low stakes assignments, I can do one-on-ones. That's really what matters, right? That's the coaching that really matters for teaching, is identify the students who are having difficulty, take the time, meet with them one-on-one, and also how Pega mentioned is also, we also want to do one-on-one interviews to make sure they know what they know and tell us and demonstrate that they know that what they should know. And it's not just all AI doing the work for them. So this is another suggestion. So with that, I am going to stop. And I'm going to turn it over to Professor Smith. Thank you, everyone.
Great presentation, Jose. I love the idea of podcasts because honestly, a lot of my time wastes through commuting from home to school and come back. Now I can at least, because I don't know, am I the only one who before coming to class, I review my own material? I want to make sure that I read more than my students. So at least in this way, I can just remind myself what I'm teaching. So that's also not just only helpful for students, but also for us as a faculty.
That's great. I do the same thing. I review my own stuff just so I'm more fluent in class.
So to that note, I'll share one more trick that I do on the train because I have an hour and 40-minute commute. So I use Google Keep to we all get ideas that come to our mind, especially when I'm walking my dog. For some reason, all my ideas come when our brain is put to rest, and then the ideas.
Same.
So I always have my Google Keep, and that's where I jot ideas. And so what I started doing now is I have Google Keep now going into my notebook, and then all my ideas are being fed into this notebook. And then whenever I want, I can come back to my ideas and ask now, based on this idea, give me 10 more new ideas.
That's a great idea.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So can I ask you a question because I'm brand new to Notebook? Can you use one AI within another? Like if I like Bard, can I use that to help me make my notebook better?
So
We can actually, that's one of the things I was going to explore a little bit in our
yeah,
activity.
I want to leave that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to leave that one for David, but Maria, though, I have another suggestion because I forgot to mention this. I thank you for bringing it up. While I was playing around with Notebook LM, the idea came that similar to what you're asking. I said to myself, wait a second. If I have all these notebooks, why not connect them all and make one big brain,
Hmm.
right? So because you can take a notebook, share that notebook, copy the link, and then bring it into another notebook. And I was like, wait a second, this will be a great idea. And I tried it, and it didn't take it. So I hope moving forward that this is something that Google will think about. That hey, maybe if you have these smaller brains, all these notebooks, one could be on ideas, one can be on assignments, one could whatever the notebooks are about, and then if you combine all these brains together, make so
So the notebooks aren't private to you. Did they just go out to the
Can be.
Google universe?
No,
they're
they
private.
are they're private to you unless you share them.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's of course everything we do is helping these large corporations refine and train their LLMs, right? Every time you do a prompt and a feedback, they're scraping this metadata and they're learning more. And I have noticed over the last few years, and I've been dealing with artificial intelligence in one guise or another for about 30 years, but particularly when generative AI came on, it aligned with the beginning of my sabbatical. And so I was able to say, oh, I have a whole year. I'm going to like pivot a little bit. And with that, I was able to spend a lot of time just exploring and things like that. So I find it an interesting place. And what I wanted to do then for today's little project was just to engage with Notebook LM ourselves and take a look at some of the other ways that we might want to consider using generative AI. I know that there's a lot of controversy, and rightfully so, about students that say, hey, write a 10-page paper about blah, 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 and they hand it in. And I would certainly say that that's most likely an unethical, well, or not necessarily unethical, but it's certainly not going to teach the student much about learning. But working through an iterative set of prompts and thoughtfully massaging the material as you're working within these generative things is really where we start to see the power. And there are many sorts of tasks that we can use to scaffold what we're already doing. I think the idea of writing an outline, generating a PowerPoint presentation, speculate on other ideas. Here's a bunch of ideas. Think about some other ideas that might be within the same wheelhouse. There are many, many different ways of approaching it. But I think one of the things that's most important when you first start engage in this is to engage in what I call thoughtful play. In other words, you're not using it for the first time to create an assignment. What you're doing the first time is playing around with it and see what its limitations are, see what it can do, see what works, and to recognize that, as been mentioned more than once, Isaac, I think, mentioned it first, is that these are just probabilistic syntactical structures that are based on existing structures within their database. There is no understanding under the hood about the topic or the method. It just happens to be that if you take a look at the trillions of lines of text that are out there, they tend to coalesce around particular types of ideas and things. So we want to look at how we use it and also recognize that you have to sort of know the material you're working with in order for it to be effective. And then it can be highly effective. So without further ado, I guess what I want to do is I'm just going to share my entire desktop if I can get this silly. The thing I hate most about Zoom is when I share, I have this little uh, bar that just floats in the way of everything whatsoever. But anyway, so what do I want to do? I just want to go to Notebook LM. Wait, where am I? I hate this. Sorry. Uh-oh. Here we go. Okay. Wait, I apologize. I have to hit OK on the recording. Okay, there we go. Now I can see everything. Okay, so this is my landing page for Notebook LM, and everybody, as was mentioned, I'm sorry. And so I've done a variety of different types of things within Notebook LM, just sort of exploring the scope and the way that it works. And one of the things I thought we might do today is just speculate with Notebook LM about if I were to take a random or an arbitrary set of lesson assignments and activities and modules, can we create an interdisciplinary course based around combining everything that we have? And so just to go back to my chat, I still only have 4 things that we have a lot of faculty here. Could I get a couple more assignments, please, in a PDF form? And that would be useful. I'll show you what I have at the moment. I think in the over here. So I put a little interdisciplinary sort of idea at the very top. There's some pasted text that was given to me. I have mine, I have Susan's, I have a wax up, and I just got a new one. I got and this is the way I have it set up. I have an EcoFest poster assignment that I'm going to add to it. And we're going to just sort of allow it to sit here and cook while I get a couple of others. I thought what I might do is just show a couple of the other LMs that I did because I found them somewhat interesting. And one of them came from, I think this is where I go. Yeah. One of them I came from Kyle Cordileone, who we were speculating about how students can cheat using artificial intelligence. And she thought that she could make this project where she took only a specific number of citations, and the students could only use those citations, which meant that they couldn't go to ChatGPT and ask for the assignment because ChatGPT or whatever would go ahead and find all sorts of other citations and things that, and then she thought, so if I look at their paper and I can see that they're only using my citations and references, then I might be able to work on being able to identify that these students are using it. So I said, okay, well, let me see if I can do something. And so I worked with Notebook LM. I uploaded all of the assignments that she wanted to do. And then I asked I asked Notebook LM to summarize and to come up with a variety of different things. And you can sort of view the whole chat. The way that Notebook LM works is that you're able to save particular responses and now it becomes permanent. But there's a whole chat that is hidden by the stupid Zoom thing. Okay. And if you view the chat, come on. Why is there not showing any chat? Oh, because I came in. There was a whole chat. I'm sorry. I apologize because if you don't save the chat, it doesn't have it. But I ended up with these saved notes. And then what I did is I took these particular summaries and basically what I asked. And that's what I'm going to do right now, just to demonstrate before we go to the other project. I'm going to play, please summarize all of this material and provide references. And I think that I asked something slightly different than this because she had the actual assignment. Oh, there's the assignment. And so it's using it. Anyway, so they're thinking. I have a question. Can people see this or have I lost my ability to stop share?
No, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you, because I don't see the green thing around it. Oh, I see the screen sharing. Okay, so there we go.
Could make it a little bit bigger.
I don't know if I can. I'll try.
Oh, no worries.
No, this is what it does. Anyway, it provided me with a summary, and then I was able to ask it to write some articles. So if I go back to the close the chat, then I developed some saved responses. And then what I did is I said, okay, let me go now take this to ChatGPT and let me use the ability of ChatGPT to generate a paper. And so, these conversations become long. I'm just sort of demonstrating that you don't just have one talk, but I built a raw draft paper that I wrote, which was basically out of Notebook LM. And just full disclosure, it was Notebook LM, write me a paper. And then I want the paper to be in the voice of a college sophomore who is not particularly gifted in writing, right? Because some of the things that we find immediately is, oh, this paper is really well written with nice, large grammatical sentences and words that I've never seen the student use before. So one of the things that we recognize is in these that you can do any particular style. So I like this, like write the first paragraph. Did I spell that wrong? Paragraph in the style of a Southern California surfer dude. And so ChatGPT thinks about Southern California. So like back in the early 50s, Iran was in this gnarly spot, man. You had all these folks who were like totally struggling, even though I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the idea is that, now write the same paragraph as if you were an accountant. I don't know. I'm just trying to find different types of voices. So now, it's the same information, but the style is coming out completely different. So anyway, without further ado, I sort of went in and I sort of forced ChatGPT to write it at sort of an introductory level college sophomore student. It still was a little neater than we expected, but you can do interesting things with it. Anyway, I think what I wanted to suggest is that no matter what the strategy is, if we're trying to ban AI completely, there's going to be a war between being able to detect something and being able to be able to prevent that from occurring. And that's just the nature of technology and the way that these particular types of forces work together. Just out of curiosity, have I received any other? Let me go back to it.
There's one more, David. I emailed it to you. It's from Stephanie Cato.
Oh, okay. Do I already have something from Stephanie, or is this separate?
Not sure.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. That's the one I dropped in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
So I grabbed that and introduced that as text. So anyway, we can just do it with this. And but I have to come back and find it again. Why do I need to edit my signature? Okay. So anyway, so I've uploaded the topics that I received. So we're going to do it with these 6 sources. I'm going to say, please oh, and before I do that, because we're very interested in sort of this idea of a podcast, that it has this wonderful ability to generate a deep dive conversation. I've never used the customize. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to hit generate while we're doing other stuff. So it says, okay, don't stick around. I'm generating a conversation. We'll come back later. Please summarize the documents and propose an interdisciplinary course that covers all of these topics. And generally, when I start with my prompting, I start a little bit generic because I know that I want to go in and I want to be able to, excuse the way I type quickly and then correct. That's just my process. And because I know I want to iterate, I want to say, oh, maybe you're not using as much about this, or I want to see a little bit more of that. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that, and we'll see what it does. And as in people that are thoughtful or students that are answering questions, sometimes it needs to do it. Okay, so this is what it says. Bridging disciplines. I guess what I should do is we should take a look and see if we're actually incorporating everything. So just to show you what we have, let's develop an interdisciplinary course on the materials. And it provides a summary of this particular document. And then it says these are what the different key topics that it thinks it has. Oh, sorry. There was an EcoFest assignment, and this summarize it, and this is the actual material that was in it. We have this pasted text. Read and annotate at least 2 sources for your Unit 2 article, and write a quote sandwich. So that's what I have. And I keep hitting the wrong thing. I stuck in this article, which is about immersive 3D visual worlds. This is from Weird Science. I used to teach one of the modules in Renata's course. I have Susan's document about paraphrasing and looking at how to deal with paraphrasing. And as I said, this is just a blind dump. We don't even know what's going to come out. And then I like this because I've got a YouTube video. The video is unavailable because the way that it works is it's not that when you upload YouTube, you're uploading the video itself. What you're doing is you're uploading the transcript of the YouTube video. So very often when people are thinking, oh, I uploaded an image and it's working off the image, it sort of is. But in the for most cases, what it's doing is that it has some ability to convert the image into a prompt. It analyzes it, comes up with some text, and then it regenerates an image from the text that it generated. So it's not exactly a direct line. Let's see. So we view the chat, and I have now this document. I got to go to the bottom. So did we get everything? I don't think we did. And this is where I'm saying is that it's useful that you need to look at it. So it's an interdisciplinary course using virtual worlds. It has an introduction to virtual world technology and navigating it. And then it has designing virtual structures. Then it has paraphrasing and academic integrity. So we've got the paraphrase thing going on. And then, but I don't see too much about, let's say, EcoFest. Please include material about all of the documents including EcoFest. And see what it says. And as I said, I'm just playing. I've never really done this particular experiment before, but this is sort of how you get to know a module. I mean, how you get to learn a new piece of technology or something like that. So we now have connecting the virtual and real and interdisciplinary exploration. And I'm trying to see if it gets into any EcoFest role-playing, virtual to real, virtual worlds in dentistry, virtual worlds in graphic design. So you can see that what it's doing is it's taking particular parts of these other assignments and trying to put together a course. Here is module 4 using the page 143 paraphrasing. And do I see anything about the wax up? So I ask, did you include anything about the wax up video? Sometimes you just have to ask it. So it thinks. Okay, so maybe to allow students to virtually practice dental procedure, it highlighted. So, I think what I'm showing without necessarily diving into deep is the ability to take things that are like very separate from each other and trying to put them together into something else. Very often I find that it's useful to not only use Notebook LM, but then to take the material and move it into other types of AI and continue to massage it and manipulate it. I'm curious if we are, oh, we have a 17-minute. I don't think we want to listen to all 17 minutes, but I think it's sort of interesting to sort of see what's the deep dive is. I'm going to stop share for just a second because I realized I did not turn on audio when I shared. So I think that might be useful. And it's this one. Oh, and I just did the same thing. I forgot to not include audio. Share sound, optimized for video. Okay. And let's see. Tell me if you hear anything.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
So can
Yes.
people? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not going to play all 17 minutes, but I think I might start. And I think this gives an idea. It's an interesting additional modality. And once again, disclaimer, I mean, we just created it, so we don't even know what it has. But here we go.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time we're looking at, well, a pretty diverse set of sources. How do I even describe this? We've got notes for like developing a course, a design assignment for an EcoFest poster. Wait, there's more. Instructions for a, quote, sandwich, and then a whole chapter on 3D virtual worlds. Oh, and a page about paraphrasing. Oh, and this is the best one. A YouTube tutorial about how to wax a tooth for dental work.
Wow, that's it really is all over the place, isn't it? If someone just handed me this stack of stuff, I think I'd be pretty confused.
Yeah, no kidding. That's why we're here to like figure out the connections, right? What's the hidden thread that links all of this seemingly random stuff together? What's the big takeaway?
Well, the thing that jumps out at me is communication. All these sources, in their own way, are about conveying information effectively.
Okay, yeah, I see that. The EcoFest poster is obviously visual communication. And the tooth waxing video, well, that's all about like super precise language. But what about the 3D Worlds chapter? How does that fit in?
I'd call that immersive communication. It's all about using virtual spaces to interact and collaborate in ways that we just couldn't before.
So this deep dive is kind of like its own interdisciplinary course on communication. Just like those course development notes suggested, we're getting a chance to analyze all these different forms of communication side by side.
Exactly. And by doing that, by seeing how communication works in these different contexts, you can become a more effective communicator overall.
All right, I like where this is going. Let's dive into the specifics. Let's start with that EcoFest poster assignment, since it's more visual, you know. The assignment mentions graphic design giants like Cassandra, Mucha, and Hallwayne for inspiration. What makes them giants?
They weren't just artists. They were masters of visual communication. Their posters weren't just eye-catching. They were effective at getting a message across and motivating people to act. Cassandra, for example, was famous for his posters for the French railway. He used bold, geometric shapes, strong lines, and limited color palettes to instantly communicate speed and modernity.
So it's not just about making something pretty. It's about making design choices that actually support the message you're trying to convey. Which makes me think about designing for digital campaigns today. Does that require a whole different approach? I mean, those giants didn't have to worry about things like Instagram algorithms.
Absolutely. The digital world is a completely different beast. You're competing for attention with email inboxes, social media feeds, websites, all of it. You have to grab attention instantly. And you often have a much smaller space to work with than a traditional poster.
So how do you stand out in that digital chaos? What are the keys to designing impactful digital visuals?
It's about adapting those core design principles for a digital audience. You still have to think about visual hierarchy, which means guiding the viewer's eye and making the most important elements stand out. Typography is huge. Choosing fonts that are readable and look good on a screen. And composition, or how you arrange everything, it becomes even more important in that limited digital space.
I see. It's like the core principles are the foundation, and then you build on that with digital specific skills. I've seen some digital posters that use animation or interactive elements, you know, stuff that really pops in a busy feed.
Exactly. You got to be creative. Find ways to translate those classic design principles for a new medium.
Fascinating stuff. But let's shift gears a bit, talk about something even more immersive. Those 3D virtual worlds. The chapter we've got here says this tech is way more than just gaming.
Absolutely. It highlights how virtual worlds have the potential to transform work, education, communication. It can connect people across huge distances.
It mentions a case study, IBM and Schneider Electric holding a meeting in Second Life. Why would they choose to meet virtually?
Well, think about it. Flying executives from all over the world to one spot, that's expensive. And it takes tons of time, not to mention the impact on the environment, especially for a company like Schneider Electric, who are really focused on sustainability.
That makes a lot of sense. Less travel means a smaller carbon footprint and probably some serious time and money saved. But did it actually work? Was the virtual meeting as effective as an in-person one?
The chapter suggests it might have been even better in some ways. Because everyone was represented by avatars, the virtual environment actually encouraged more teamwork. It didn't matter which company you were from, everyone was on equal footing. It kind of broke down some of the usual corporate barriers.
Wow, that's really interesting. It's like the virtual environment leveled the playing field so ideas could be judged on their own merit, not on who was presenting them.
Exactly. More open, more collaborative.
This makes me wonder how someone like me, someone who's not a corporate giant, could use these 3D virtual worlds. What are some of the possibilities?
The possibilities are honestly endless. Think about virtual conferences, collaborative research, immersive language learning. The potential is huge.
Really feels like the future of communication is unfolding right before our eyes.
I'm stopping there because, it just keeps going. But you know what, I'm going to stop share for a second and then come back. Sort of what leaps out to me is that how quickly we can develop media, and that as faculty or as content creators, we can't just allow it to be the first pass, but that we have this opportunity to do some really interesting stuff because we can move more quickly and put things together. So what I wanted to do next, though, is take the summary that we had created in Notebook LM, stick it into ChatGPT really quick, and ask it to design a syllabus. And then at that point, we go ahead and we take a look and decide what works and what doesn't work. So I'm going to share my screen again. Here's the Notebook LM. I'm viewing the chat. We're going to save this to notes. So now I have this saved response, and I believe I can just copy it. Here it is. So I've copied and pasted it. I'm opening up chat. I'm creating a new chat. Now, a new chat doesn't mean that it's brand new because chat has my memory, but I'm going to say here, please create a syllabus for an interdisciplinary course of 15 weeks that covers the following topics. And then I'm just going to paste in what I got out of Notebook LM. And then we're going to allow it to create our syllabus. So this interdisciplinary course, it provides the objectives, creates a 15-week outline. Week 1 through 3, week 2 is module 2 is experiencing the virtual, interdisciplinary applications, virtual world, module 4, ensuring integrity, bridging worlds, reflections. I'm not suggesting this is the final syllabus by any way, because I would suggest that maybe we wanted a different emphasis or things like that. Okay, so thank you very much. So, wow, I'm not sure whether I'm going to just ask it to, I would like this to better emphasize emphasize the modules that are in, which one is it? Module 3. Modules, the units in module 3, virtual worlds should have a smaller yet still important role. And then I just say this, rewrite. And then it will, ChatGPT will take the revised syllabus, adding more about the real world impact, which was sort of what I was asking for. It will now modify the modules. And now it's spending more time in bridging the real and the virtual. We're almost done. So it's saying what the assessments are. Now, I think, and this is just where I'm going to end up with, and before I throw it open for questions or ideas, because, you know, it's a sandbox. We should be able to play with it. Notebook LM accepts links. ChatGPT allows you to create a link. So I'm going to create a link to this module that I just created, copy it, go back to Notebook LM and upload it. And it's a link to a website. I've never done this part. I'm experimenting. Oh, doesn't like it. Okay. So it won't do that kind of a link. So I go back to ChatGPT. I don't copy the link. I go like this, select all. Back.
You can click the copy button on the
At the top of the prompt response, right?
I think at the bottom.
This.
No, if you scroll down, you'll see the copy right there. You see it next to the audio, little icons.
These.
Yeah, right there.
Oh,
that
okay.
copy.
Okay, I'm going to do that. I always love it when I learn something that, because I spend so much time doing that. Okay, so then instead of this, so we get rid of this, remove the source because it didn't know how to read it, but it does know how to paste text. So now I've inserted the syllabus. So with these materials, revise the course. So we now have the new pasted text. I guess I could have named it, but it will now take what ChatGPT thought about, put it back into Notebook LM, run Notebook LM's summary on it, and then from that, revise the Bridging Worlds course. So very often what we find is that we have this opportunity to sort of use multiple artificial generative AI sources to perform different types of activities. Just to conclude here, and before I throw it open to questions or things, is that you'll notice within the notebook guide that they also have already set up. So if you want a table of contents or you want a study guide, I click on study guide. It's going to generate a study guide based on the material that's in it. I'm once again allowing it to spin, do its thing, hopefully. And there it is. So now I have a new note, which here's the study guide with quizzes, answer keys, essay questions, glossary of key terms. You know, it sort of generates this. Once again, and I'm going to emphasize this, you don't just take this and say, this is it. You look through it carefully. You look at every sentence. Is this correct? Is this the way I want it? If it isn't, you either manipulate it yourself or you tell your with prompt, you say, I don't like the way that you said this. Say it in a different way. And I think, Jose, unless there's, I'm going to stop the share right now so I can see the thing. I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to share the podcast link because that's something else you can do. So I'll just do my final share on this. So if I go back to my notebook guide, I can give it public access, copy the share link. It's now in my clipboard. This is taking me to the podcast, which I don't need to do. But what I am going to do is I'm going to paste it into Zoom chat. So if you want to take a look at the result here, there's a link to that podcast, the deep dive. They always call it a deep dive. And with that, I stop. I open it for questions, ideas, comments, or if we want to continue to play, we can beat up what we have there as well.
I feel like we just created Frankenstein.
It is a Frankenstein, but that's what everything is a Frankenstein. It's a little big things that are made out of smaller things.
Any ideas or, the purpose of the workshop, was to bring these ideas into the space and then let it simmer and then think about how you, as an instructor, can utilize some of some of the technology that we presented today. And please just any ideas, suggestions on how you think this can benefit you, or just any questions in general.
I have a thought, Jose. Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
So not as an instructor, but as a researcher, how much this can help me write a grant. Like if I import a previous grant of mine, if I import a couple of funding calls, a couple of my papers, and I ask it to use my tone and my way of writing based on my previous written material, this is what I'm thinking. That might be another workshop, but we're just thinking out loud now.
No, I think
thank you for this workshop.
Yeah, that's exactly the type of thing that works really well. And you can even do more. You can say, target this because this is an NSF blah, blah, blah grant. Write it in the language that other successful NSF grants that you find in the LLM have been written. And, allow it to create the framework around what it is that you're doing. I think very often what we think about when people not really thinking about generative AI, but just sort of looking at the promise and the perils, so to speak, they think about a large task that's going to be created in whole cloth. But I've found that the most effective way of using it is to take your large task, break it down into smaller tasks, and then apply very specifically. Give me a summary, write an outline, demonstrate a conclusion, give me additional ideas. That's one that works really well for me. It's like, hey, I have these 5 ideas about something I'm doing, whatever your discipline is. Give me another 5 ideas. Then give me another 5 ideas. I would say maybe 80% of the ideas you say, that's sort of silly, or, oh yeah, I've already thought of that. But a couple of those are going to be, wow, I never thought about that before. In a way, it's very similar to me about the way that tarot or divination or some of these work, which is, if you put random things together, the human brain is really good at finding patterns, of finding repetitions, of making connections, but we can only make connections to things we speculate about. So in the same way that if I look at a cloud and I see a horse or a carriage or a pumpkin, whatever the thing is, it's very nice to be able to have these somewhat random or related ideas that can flow in front of me so that I can pick and choose. And I think overall, to me, the large takeaway is that I use generative AI as sort of an intermediate tool that helps me to develop my ideas, to clarify my ideas, to take, I just free associated and brainstormed some stuff into a document. Please clean it up and put it in the right order and give me an outline. Yeah. That kind of stuff is really, really useful.
One thing I want to say about Eugenia is that sometimes you're stuck inside the forest and you can't see the end. And, as researchers, sometimes there's a lot going on. You're overwhelmed with all this material. And sometimes you need that second pair of eyes or just to make your way through that forest. And that's the way I see it as an analogy. I can see it as a way to, you're trying to get an end goal and you're doing all this research, you're collecting all this material, all this content. But sometimes we can get lost within all this. And sometimes, you ask a colleague, hey, come and look at this for me and tell me, am I on the right track? Am I going the right way? But that's what AI can do for you, right? Because you're ingesting all this knowledge into it. Have it help you find your way.
Of another thing that I find it works really well for is sometimes formatting and stuff. So I do a lot of work in GitHub, and GitHub uses Markdown. And Markdown is very specific. It's easy to use once you learn it, but it's not a WYSIWYG where you say, I want it bold, so I'm going to click the bold button. You put asterisks around it or whatever the items are. So if you have a lot of material, you have to put it into a particular format. You say, please reformat this into this particular set of instructions. So I say, I'll throw something in, I'll work with it. I'll say, okay, I like it. Now generate this for me as Markdown. I guess I should just do that really quickly since we're talking about it. So if I go back to my chat and I say, please generate this as Markdown for GitHub. then what it will do is, once it does its little bit of thinking, is it creates my code, because Markdown is a type of code. And now, see, it has all the formatting and stuff is already built in. It's built the list. It understands how Markdown works. These are bullets. And, at the end of it, I don't have to show the whole thing, though. I have this in Markdown. I no longer have to go in and say, oh, I want this bold, so I'm going to put the 2 asterisks around it. It's done it. I just copy and paste it in. Then I look, and this saves me so much time. It's not changing a word of what I put up, but it's format, and this is good at. I find that its accuracy for this type of formatting works really, really well. Okay, that's all I was going to say.
There is always something new to learn from you, David. Thank you so much.
So I
Thanks.
teach composition, and I've been struggling between what my students are being told from other classes about plagiarism and the fact that when they get out into the real world, they are going to be expected to use these technologies. And I'm teaching them how to write, and I have them use, Grammarly and other things like that. And I'm trying to figure out a way to trying to bridge the gap between their anxiety about being accused of plagiarism on the one hand and learning to use these technologies, which they're going to need on the other hand. Um, I've been sort of trying to demonstrate that, and it's kind of difficult for me to find that middle ground. So I'm just going to throw that out there because I don't know how many other people from the humanities are around. I can't tell. But any sort of suggestions would be great.
I think I can wear the humanities hat a little bit. My background is music composition. I think overall that the important part is that with these assignments that it's iterative and it's scaffolded, so that students start at the beginning by writing in their own voice, in their own worlds, maybe a position, words, some kind of a position. Um, and they and you explicitly say, I don't care how good or how bad it is. This is just to get your words down. Now, once they have some material and stuff, maybe then they work by now asking the AI sort of the same question of that their assignment is going to be, and then asking AI to sort of work with the material that they provided. I'm part of, and Pega is also, so there is, the CUNY has the Building Bridges to Knowledge fellows, and we're all tasked with creating OER for AI for disciplines across CUNY. And there are 30 of us, and there are large groups. And one of those is in English composition. And in fact, we are piloting these activities this semester, reporting on them in January, and then we're opening this OER repository, which is going to have probably hundreds of different types of assignments and activities that are directed. And since I'm sit on the humanities group in this, and we have 3 or 4 English faculty that work either in reading or writing, in creative writing, introductory composition, and they're piloting out ways that they can embed the AI into the activities, which we'll then present, within January. So there'll be a lot of material there. Another suggestion I have, though, why don't you ask ChatGPT that very same question, and see what it says? Start to have your own conversation with the AI in terms of, hey, I'm trying to teach it. I want to be ethically responsible. I want to be able to perform this type of an assignment. Build me an assignment. Give me the scaffolding. It will give you something that's reasonable, and then you can continue to have the conversation with it as you continue to work. The other thing that I point out is that I encourage the use of AI, but I demand that you cite the AI and you describe how you're using the AI. It's different for someone to say, I used AI because I didn't have a single idea and I just asked it to give me some ideas, to someone that said, well, I wrote the whole paper, but I wanted to make sure that the argument was in the right order. So I asked it to sort of clarify my argument. So that, these are different types of uses of it. And the more that the students are practicing with this and seeing how they can use it, and at the same time that we're enforcing critical thinking on them. And that's why these things have to be iterative. And that's why you have to sort of understand the material under the hood when you're doing it. And so in ChatGPT, there's a very nice feature. You can share, as I showed, you can share that chat. So if students are using ChatGPT, I ask them to cite it. And by the way, MLA now has guidelines in terms of how to cite AI. So I, refer them to the particular guidelines to make sure that they reference it, and that that they're explicit about their use of AI in the in within the environment. Anyway, that's sort of my stream of consciousness there. I would really recommend asking that question to chat and see what it says. Beat it up yourself.
I actually have, and I've asked for it to cite itself as well.
Oh, do you cite yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
Always.
So chat should cite itself.
Some suggestion, Maria.
Interesting.
Some suggestion would be sometimes incorporate reflective paper. Incorporate how the experience was, or how does it affect you as a person, so that the student actually doing like a reflective piece, or how does it affect you? Because lots of what's generated with ChatGPT and other language models is just that it's not at a personal level, right? You're going to get something that's not going to be really personable, right? So try to frame those prompts, the discussion prompts or the essay prompts, more as a reflection as a student perspective, and how did it feel? How did you do this? How did, that kind of perspective. Also, I like to bring it into ideation, right? Writer's block, right? A lot of times we have the writer's block. Give me some suggestions, starter points, and then, but again, if you, like David mentioned, scaffolding, right? If you provide this, the scaffolding and then say, okay, here you're allowed to use generative AI to help you with the ideation. From there, you take that and then, providing the scaffolding step by step, right? So you're guiding them. Sometimes I like to do with scaffolding is in between the scaffolding, you allow opportunities for that one-on-one to talk, right? And we do that sometimes in the physical classroom when you hover around the classroom and you're walking around and you see somebody struggling, and you can do those one-on-ones. And it does take a little more time, right? Because now if you have a class of 25 or 27, whatever, you do have to do that. Another idea, Marie, is I've seen, what I'm starting to see now a lot is have a sample paper, a base model, right? And so you use the base model. And so it has to be on paper, written. If it's a hybrid or in-person classroom, start off with the base model, right? And so now you have, I always joke about this, but educators and professors are like superheroes. You have those special superhero powers. Like you can look at the classroom and say, okay, over there, I see, I see Jules. He's nodding off. Okay, I got to throw in one of my dad jokes or something. You read the audience and you know what's going on, and you see struggling, right? So, where was I going with this? Yeah, right. So the base model, right? So that would be another way, because now you have something that you can lean on as to, well, the vocabulary level of this person, and out of nowhere, the next paper he's talking or she is bringing up some high level vocabulary that, wait a second, these two papers look dramatic. There's a big difference between the two papers. Those are some ideas I've seen, but I do like the one-on-one interviews. Chiming in from time to time and asking, because the most authentic answer you can get is when you're actually speaking to each other, and you can read those students, and you can tell by the face. Oh, I'm sorry, when they're lying a lot of the time. I mean, I have two kids now, so I'm learning that skill now that you guys have. You start to read and anyway, I'll stop there. But I think Jules had a comment.
I think I'm going to be able to use this definitely because of my commuting. So, like to review ideas that I had with my with my class, the day's lecture or something like that, I can re-listen to whatever I've written out, maybe gain some more ideas, and it'll definitely save a lot of time actually making up your PowerPoints and things like that.
Yeah, in fact, then you can
Makes
go
sense.
right into Google Slides or whatever, and you can generate the PowerPoint itself as well.
Oh, you can actually generate PowerPoints with it?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's the Gemini extension. There are a couple of plugins that you put into. I'm thinking of Google Slides, but I'm sure that with Copilot or whatever that I don't use PowerPoint directly, but I'm pretty sure that you could do that as well. And they're not bad. They're not bad, and they provide images and bullet points and things like that.
You can't actually export it as a PowerPoint, but you
Yes.
put
Yeah,
it.
you can. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can actually because you can export Google Slides as a PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
As well. I
This
just
is
pasted
this
into
is
I'm just one real quick. I just pasted into chat a scaffolded assignment that I use in career and portfolio seminar, in which part 3 is explicitly engaging with artificial intelligence. I'm sure that there are better things coming out, and I trust my CUNY my fellow fellows, that they're coming up with amazing stuff. Because when we did the 3-minute presentation, I was blown away by the scope and the range, and just the number of resources that are going to be available for. And that's just CUNY. Every university is coming up with this kind of stuff. So I'm sure that the embedded ability to identify, find, and build our own assignments that incorporate AI in a meaningful and ethical way is only going to increase. I'm sorry, I jumped in on someone else.
all what you guys are saying are on point. I remember when I was in college how many years ago, we had simulations and we look forward to that. So this is a new way for these students. So I agree with everything that you're saying. And for me, I've incorporated AI for quite some time. And I was an advocate for it even at another institution where I am, but they're not for it. They're totally not for it. But I just use it in a way where, as you're saying, David, how these students can be able to come up with ideas. I don't want them to use it to write their papers. That's a total no-no. But we definitely have to embrace it because there's so many things that have come out that people are saying, okay, I don't think we're going to get there, but we passed that stage already and we're already there. So I totally in agreement with it. And I'm willing to learn a whole lot more that's coming.
It basically augments your own train of thoughts and everything.
Indeed.
All right. Well,
Any question, Jules? Sorry.
No.
Oh, okay.
well, we plan on doing more of workshops on AI. And we are open to hearing from all faculty members your interest in topics. So feel free to email me if you have any topics in mind that you would like for us to cover, or if you want to lead a workshop, shoot me an email. We'll be happy to, take into consideration uh, your ideas and thoughts. But we will continue with the conversation. This is just the beginning. The first elevatED workshop, we covered how to use AI to build a question bank. So it was kind of connected to what Peg was doing earlier, right? If you have lots of questions, you can bring in you can use AI to create those questions in the Brightspace format, and then you can import all those questions. So if you did miss that workshop, I will have the recording up on our YouTube channel, and this also will eventually have it on our YouTube channel. For there were so many people that wanted to be here today, and I'm realizing I think Thursdays is probably not the best day, so maybe I'll probably Fridays I think seem to be a little better. Excuse me. And I think if we don't have any more questions or comments or
What's
ideas,
the YouTube channel?
I will summarize this workshop, and I'll
Okay.
send you I'll
Okay.
send you all like all the workshop that we have done in the past. We follow up with an email with all the information, including the PowerPoint slides. And Peg, if it's okay with you, we can share your slides with the.
Sure.
Okay. So we'll have Pega slides and David and my slides in there, and we'll along with the future workshops, and I think Fridays seems to be a little better. So if that's okay with everybody, I'll probably aim for Fridays. And
Yeah.
and
We
we
should
look.
pop the links, different things that
Yeah.
Yeah,
pop the
thank you,
links in
Jenny.
there.
Now you have one more subscriber, Jose.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, and last, any other words from Pega or David before we close, or anyone else? And we'll stop there. Is that, or you guys have anything else to say?
I would just say play with it and see what it does, but try to, have a very targeted assignment or a targeted question. And then the most important part is that you iterate, it's called chat. It's not called give me material. So Jose was talking about, I see what are these some of the ones that have the wonderful names, looking at, or
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
seeing. Yeah, just talk about
Yes.
those real.
Oh, thank you. So much in my like talk about going through, looking past the forest. There's so much that we covered today. But um, if you get a chance, please visit the Google AI Lab, and I can put the link in the chat. But a lot of the workshops are coming up regarding AI. We will visit a lot of these tools, and one of which is really fun that David and I were playing around before. David and Pega, the three of us, like whenever we see these tools, like almost like Christmas, and we're playing with these new toys. I don't know. That's the way I could describe it. But there's one workshop that we're going to have is to help you. Um, Understand prompt engineering. How can I get the best results? As you saw David and Pega today, they were quick to ask and format their questions in a way that you get results. But not only that, is the process of iteration, right? You're going to continue that chat or that conversation with AI to get the results that you're looking for. So we will have a workshop on that. But there's a cool tool. Let me see if I can share my screen real quick before we close. So you can have this will be the homework or the your homework for until our next meeting, our
Very
next
cool.
workshop is the notebook. Sorry, the Google Lab. Let's see if I can do a Google search real quick. Yeah,
That'll do it.
yeah. So simple search of Google Labs, and you're gonna have so many toys here to play with. And this is most of the work.
Okay.
A lot of the here. Let me copy that. It's labs.google. Let me copy that and.
I already put it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, David. So yeah, so David, like David mentioned, like here is the AI overviews. Ask photo. One that we will cover together, which is
I'm sorry, just note that there's Notebook LM. It's
yep.
only one of about 20 or 30 different ones. Every single one of them is its own sort of ecosystem and world of how to work.
Yeah. So again, this is like early Christmas. Go in here and try these out because they're all out. The one I really wanted to spotlight is where are you? So Learn About is going to be another one that we're going to cover. Learn About will help students. It's a guided tour of adaptive learning. Illuminate for researchers. We might touch that, but there's one where it's about prompt engineering. Where are you? See what? Oh, great. And of course, I don't see it now. Where are you? Oh, see what you see. So if you get a chance, try this one out because eventually we'll have a workshop on this. But basically, it helps you become better at prompt engineering. So they gamified the app or the tool. They gamified it, made it look into like a game. And so you start level one, and basically what you're doing is you click Let's Begin, and it gives you an image, and then it asks you say what you see.
What you see.
So here I see. I mean, let's see, blue sky with sailboats.
Watercolor.
Oh, looks like Italy to me, right? In Italy or somewhere? I don't know. Let's say blue water and blue
It's
sky.
it's a watercolor.
Oh,
I think.
yes.
Talk about the style.
Okay, so let me start with that. Painting, watercolor painting. So you see how we're re-engineering our prompts as we're looking at the image. Watercolor painting of a blue sky with sailboats in Italy Let me remove that because I said it twice.
It's in the harbor because they're buildings. So you
Yeah.
need to, you know.
All right, let's see what score I get. And so I clicked the little generate button. Okay. So what it did was it created an image of the prompt that I used based off the image of the prompt it provided me. And it tries to do a match. And I did a 67% match. So my prompt could be a lot better because the prompt that they used to create the image is a watercolor, like David said, a watercolor painting of a harbor, and I spelled harbor wrong. A painting of a harbor scene with small fishing boats in the water. It is a sunny summer day. So I was kind of close, but this is a tool that you can use to help you get better at engineering your prompts. So I just wanted to share that real quick before I stop. So
Jose, I think there's something I've gone over this a while ago with my son because he's very good with these things. But I think there's one he had showed me. I don't remember what it's called, to be honest with you, but it focused a lot on the different technological factors that that is out there that individuals have to identify. And I think this is very good, a part of learning,
yeah,
to be honest with you. Very interesting. And in fact, I actually teach that class somewhere else. But it is interesting for not only for us to know, but for the students to know as well, because it really helps them with their learning.
yeah. Another thing I think Marie mentioned it earlier about writing. As we saw, as I was trying to generate that prompt, we saw how we were trying to write the best prompt.
Right.
Iterative process behind writing a prompt, I feel is so special as an educator. And I wonder how that process of engineering a prompt and the iterative process of that conversation between you and the
And then the
AI
students.
can embed itself into the learning experience of the subject
Sure.
matter that you're teaching.
Indeed.
That's the only way I can phrase that is the two, I feel the iterative process of engineering the prompt has to come together with your world in the subject matter that you're teaching. All right. We'll end on that note. We're 8 minutes early, but again, thank you all for joining and feel free to reach out to us. I will probably send a survey sometime just to get a feedback.
Thanks so much. It was enlightening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Nice to see you.